Hello, everyone. I am joined yet again by PixelMetal, game developer and someone who's involved with the South by Southwest SavePoint panel about GamerGate. So, how are you doing today, PixelMetal?
I am doing good. I am glad it's Friday.
Yeah,
How
me
about you?
too. Definitely glad. So, hey,
Yeah, it was a long
um,
week.
last time we just finished up the harassment section, but before we move on to media coverage, I do want to make a quick little announcement here. On Twitter, you called me out, rightly so. I messed up. I said that South by Southwest tried to cancel your panel, but actually it was a third party who tried to cancel it and stop you from coming, and they failed. And South by Southwest ended up allowing it to happen. So my apologies. I did correct this on Twitter at the time, but I just want to make sure that anyone who saw that has the correct information. Cool. Well, hey.
Yeah, all good, man. Well, I guess just say to add to that, since you brought it up. I mean, they did shuffle us off to a pretty far far off conference site for the rest of from the rest of South by. So I think you had followed it up with, they kind of stood up a little bit. It's like I wouldn't really say they stood up. I would say they just kind of brushed it under the rug a little bit. I don't want to give them too much credit, is what I'm saying. Yeah, I
All
don't know
right.
that South By's we're the good guys here. They were just the not bad guys, I guess.
Gotcha. Well, hey, speaking of potential bad guys, what do you think about how the media covered Gamergate?
Um, yeah, I mean, in the most salacious tabloidy way possible to get eyeballs or clicks. I feel it sums it up pretty well.
If you were going to investigate Gamergate as an active journalism, how would you have done it?
Well, I mean, I'm not a journalist, so that's a tough question to give a useful answer on, I guess. But I would probably have, yeah, spent a little bit more time looking into it before jumping to conclusions, or you know going with the flow on what the overall narrative was.
Are there any journalists you think did a good job covering Gamergate?
That's it. I mean, probably, but it's been so long I couldn't tell you who. Um, I got to really think about that. I think Eric Kane did initially, although I should add to that, I also think he's kind of gone for salacious clickbait stuff since. Um, Ali Barter did a pretty good job I think he was at Forbes at the time too. I think he still is actually. But that seems to be his thing, is just, yeah,
Well, Ali
trying to
Barter,
present it in a more journalistic way, I would say.
yeah, Ali.
A little more. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, he declined to be interviewed, respectfully. I'm on good terms with him. But Eric Kane, I'm actually interviewing him.
Yeah.
Anything I
Good
should ask
luck.
him?
Have fun. No, I mean, I don't know. I got nothing.
Did anyone in the media reach out to you for an interview to discuss the movement?
Some folks did. Yeah. Again, I couldn't tell you who, because I don't remember all of them. Um, I know I talked to some folks from Mashable, maybe Polygon, I can't remember. Newsweek, and they ended up not using anything. Mashable didn't use anything. Of course, Polygon didn't.
What's
Um, Someone from Vice reached out, but it became very obvious that they were trying to dig for stuff for, again, their narrative. So I didn't really talk to them.
Well,
What were you about to
it's
say?
interesting. It's interesting you mentioned that they didn't run with it because that seems to be a common theme, where they'll interview Gamergate people and then not run with the story. That happened at the CBC too with Ginny Barrage and Jennifer Daw.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, who was it? Someone shouted to Jennifer and me, and I thought did a fairly It was for some like clickbait rag too, who was like International Business Times or something like that. They I think it was them. They had a decent little bit on it around I think really specifically, the harassment narrative.
They did talk with you and Jennifer though.
Yeah, yeah. I can't remember if they had reached out to my PR guy or if my PR guy had reached out to them. But at one point they said they like couldn't find any women to talk about it, which is just so like patently untrue. They could have just spent 5 minutes on Twitter to find someone. Um, and so I just sent Jennifer a message like, "Hey, do you want to talk to these people?" And yeah, she talked to them.
Did you reach out to any journalists or media outlets who wrote articles about Gamergate to correct misinformation?
Again, probably. Um, Someone from I think it was the Next Web wrote about the South by panel, and I didn't think they got it quite right until I reached out to them. I mean, I did it publicly on Twitter, and they responded. And even though I didn't agree with them, and I think they didn't necessarily agree with me, they had a fairly well reasoned response of why they wrote it the way they wrote it. So good for them. That's what journalists are supposed to do. Not agree with you, but like try to present it in a more objective way. At least stuff like that, I think. Huffington Post, I think, yelled at my PR guy for reaching out because yeah, I can't remember the full story behind it, but there was some video cast thing they were doing with people. Like I think the dude from 8chan was on there. I can't remember his name.
Frederick Brennan?
That's the one. And then a couple other people. And I think I had said to my peer guy, like look at these fucking nitwits they have on this thing to talk about what's going on. Like people clearly there to like try to like either troll or make a name for themselves. Oh, you know what? I think Brianna Rue was on it there to make a name for herself. And it's like reach out to them and let's like see what they would do. And like yeah, they like didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to talk to him at all. They really wanted this like uh, black, white, left, right kind of presentation, because it made it more salacious, it made it more tabloidy, and it's their bread and butter.
I didn't want to talk about Brianna Wu, but you brought her up. I recently reached out to a
I didn't mean to.
No, it's
You
okay.
just,
Um, I reached out to a
just
confidant of mine
yeah.
recently, and also somebody in real life,
Uh-huh.
to get feedback on how I should talk about her publicly because as you know, a lot of people doubt the whole fled her home story and then coming back 6 times over a 3 month period. Um, but like, I don't know how much I want
Yeah.
to talk about that publicly because I don't want to hurt Brianna's reputation. I don't want to.
Oh, I wouldn't worry about that too much. Yeah, she can take care of that herself. She's
Well,
doing a good job
well,
ruining her own. So,
you say that, but she runs a super PAC. Like she's clearly a well-connected person. Like,
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, anyone can start a super PAC. Like the homeless guy that lives in an alleyway. He could start a super PAC. So I wouldn't read too much into success as a measure, like starting up
well,
a
she didn't start it.
nonprofit like
She didn't
that, or
start
not
it.
even a.
She was granted permission to run it by Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks.
Uh, okay,
But
yeah,
like,
I wouldn't read too much into it.
what do you not think that talking about that stuff, her stuff particularly, and aspects of her story that seem somewhat questionable, do you think that that's not going to hurt her reputation? And I don't want to do that. I don't want to like be someone who.
Oh well, I mean that's like if saying things about someone that are like, and those things are true, right? Like
Yeah.
if that hurts the reputation, um, there's clearly one specific person to blame in that situation, right? And it's the person, but
So
it's not the
basic.
people talking about it.
So basically, because the information's true, if she wants to counter it, she should either like offer up evidence against it or just be like, "Hey, look, I screwed up. I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry."
I think she can do whatever she wants to do. This if we're talking about someone who's presenting themselves as a public figure, you don't get to not be criticized.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad you offered your feedback on that. Thank you. Are there any specific
Sure.
Are there any specific articles or videos you want to discuss?
No, no, nothing I would remember, really. It's all such a blur.
Did the media's coverage of Gamergate increase or decrease your trust in the media?
Oh, did it increase or decrease it? I mean, I don't think it really changed too much, really. Yeah, I didn't have a high opinion of them before that, and I don't think I was alone in that feeling.
If a journalist who got Gamergate wrong, in your view, is reading this now, what do you want them to reconsider?
Oh, doing a better job or doing their job at all, I guess, if that's the title they're going to give themselves or they're going to be employed under as journalists, then they should go practice journalism.
What do you think the media can learn from how they covered Gamergate?
Oh, they've learned a lot. You can tell because every story now is presented in, and it was already happening a little bit before it, but much more so after. It's very lucrative to stir people up and instill division, right? It gets a lot of eyeballs on ads on these websites. I think mostly online, maybe more than TV. But it's all become so polarized, right? Like there's no place for like any kind of nuance now, you know. So I think that's what they learned. They learned how to be worse at it, right? More tabloidy. Yeah.
Do you think that that was the motivation, just to get clicks by stirring up drama and contention?
Oh, I think that was the motivation for a majority. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on the Gamergate
I
Wikipedia
think it
article?
still is. Yeah. I mean, I haven't looked at it in years. I know at one point it was fairly skewed. Um, I'm sure it still is,
That
you
hasn't
know.
changed, no.
But who cares? Yeah, I like who cares? It just doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't affect my life.
Well, I care. Well, one, because it's not true, and I value the truth. But two, I think that Wikipedia, like the idea that it started off with, was great. This idea of having an open encyclopedia that anyone can edit. I think that's a great idea, and I think that it was a really useful tool for a long time, and it still is to some extent. But it seems like there's a lot of issues with it. Well, one of which is you have these like power users like Ryu Long, who are able to, because they have thousands and thousands and thousands of edits to their name, they have a reputation, not a reputation, but they have like power within the system, more so than other users, and it allows them to set whatever narrative they want.
Yeah, but I mean, who cares? It's not like Wikipedia is not a database of when it. Okay, I think when it comes to topics that are very cut and dry, Wikipedia can be useful. But when it comes to anything that can be politicized or there's any contention around what the truth is, it's useless, right? It's no more useful than like typing in a hashtag on Twitter or Instagram and seeing what people are talking about, right? It's just white noise. Um, so yeah, I wouldn't encourage anyone to consider Wikipedia as a source of facts or knowledge, like outside of very specific things, you know.
Well, I've actually reached out to the founders of Wikipedia as a part of this project, and I've actually talked with them. Well, one of them, Larry Sanger, and he is very disappointed in the direction Wikipedia has taken, and he thinks that in the future, what would be better is if you have like a search feature where you can search all these different wikis, not just one wiki, not just one Wikipedia, but you have a bunch of different wikis all over the internet, which already are, but you were able to search those and find information from all of them and not just use one source, but get a variety of sources. That's what he thinks is a good idea. What do you think of that?
Well, I mean, that's how research is supposed to be done, right? You don't take everything from one source. So that all sounds good to me. I seem to remember him at the time. Um, what back in 2014. His opinion was a little bit different than that, but it's nice to hear that he's evolved.
Yeah. Oh, I know Jimmy Wales was also like,
Oh, you know what? That's who I was
yeah,
thinking of.
yeah,
Actually, I'm sorry. It
yeah.
was
There's
Jimmy
two people.
Wales.
There's two people I
Yeah,
found out.
that's
Yeah.
right. It was that dude. Yeah, I can't remember. I don't keep track of who runs Wikipedia.
Would you like to see, quote, the narrative, unquote, on Gamergate change in your lifetime?
Oh, I don't care. It doesn't matter. And I keep saying it doesn't matter because when we've seen like these moral panics in the past, right? Like the narrative on those has never really technically changed, right? When they're talked about in modern day, when they're talked about, which is rarely. Um, so I feel like that stuff just doesn't change in it, but it also just doesn't affect anything.
Well,
Like things keep going on.
well,
Life goes on.
you say it doesn't change, but I don't think that's true. I think that like if you look at like how people today in the 21st century view like the rock and roll moral panic or the Dungeons and Dragons moral panic or even like the Jack Thompson kind of moral panic about video games prior to the Gamergate stuff, I think that most people hold like a pretty negative view on that.
No, they don't. They don't. People like game people do. Yeah, and people that have like the types of people who have gotten into games since then has changed a little bit, right? Like especially around like PlayStation time. You started just getting very different types of people playing games, but it's still game people, right? And but I think if you ask someone's mom who was around back then, like they were a mom back then, not a mom now, like they're still going to think all that stuff happened and was true.
I don't
I think
think
that's the reality of it.
I'm sure that's true for some people. Like I'm sure you have like the people who are like who grew up in the 1950s and are like, yeah, fuck those rock and roll people. They're turning people into demons or whatever, right? I'm sure there's some people
Well,
like that
yeah,
still
yeah,
alive, but I think
that.
most
But
they
I'm
die
also
out.
talking about.
They die out too.
Uh, nah, yeah. Well, it's only because the people die, right? It's because the people who think that way die. That's when it goes away. And I wasn't even talking about that because, like, the I was talking more about the Jack Thompson Mortal Kombat time, right? Like, most people who were parents around that time, like people who would have been parents of people my age at that time, um, like they still think that way, right? And I'm sure there's areas where they people don't think that way, like the Northeast, right? Like New York, Pennsylvania, and some people on the West Coast. Just mostly because there's so many game companies on the West Coast. But like anywhere else in the country, it's just like, yeah, Mortal Kombat's going to lead to the end of the world, right? The downfall of society. Like that opinion hasn't really changed.
I don't
Culture
know
moves
if
very, very slowly.
I don't know if that's
Yeah.
true. I mean, look at how quickly people change their mind on gay marriage, for instance.
Well, no, that had to be legislated, though. Like
Well,
people
it
didn't
didn't
really
though, right?
change their mind on that.
No, they did. Like if you
No,
look
it
at the
did.
polling
It
on
was.
it,
It was. It was. It was. Well, now, right? Because it was like forced upon people, right? When that was Obama, right? Yeah, who put
no,
through
it
the
was
Marriage
it was
Act.
the Supreme Court.
Well, and in the end, yes, the law that was made that caused it to go to the Supreme Court. Um, this is like you got to remember how quickly we age. Like all the Gamergate stuff was a decade ago, right? And that's right around the time the game era stuff happened. It's taken that long for it to like be even remotely accepted, and it's because it was like forced upon people. Like you don't get to say no anymore. You don't get to tell people what they can and can't do, right? Yeah, when they're in love. Um, I think it had to be forced, and I think there's still a lot of the U.S. That, yeah, it's still not really accepted for sure. And I'm like, I live in Texas, man.
Well,
Now,
so
I see it all the time. You know,
what I do think that when it comes to these moral panics, there are people who are probably like the bitter clingers, and they take it to their grave, right? They still think that Dungeons and Dragons turns people into demons or whatever, right? They still think that, but that's a small number of people who are the bitter clingers. I think what happens is a lot of people kind of jump onto the bandwagon And then once they realize that it's kind of embarrassing, and they look back and they're like, "Oh no, actually, my bad," and they just kind of don't talk about it anymore because they are embarrassed by their past actions.
Well, I think that last part is 100% true. They don't talk about it because they're embarrassed. But I don't know that necessarily means that they've entirely changed their mind. Although I'm sure some of them have. But even fewer would admit fault. Right, getting people to admit fault on these like firmly held beliefs that most people have is next to impossible.
Did you see?
Having them shut up though is enough most of the time. So.
Did you see my interview with Peter Coffin?
I saw you were doing one. That's it.
He changed his mind on GamerGate.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that?
I think I'd have to. I would have to watch it, or I guess listen to it to hear what he has to say.
Okay. Well, we're
Do
doing
you,
a part
is
two
there is
coming
there
up.
like a summary?
So he says that he said that the first time he heard about GamerGate, it was from someone who he thought was more pro GG leaning, and they didn't bring any evidence to back up their story. They were just like, "Hey, look, Zoe Quinn is kind of a moral monster. You should probably say something and speak out against her." And he thought that that was wrong because he doesn't like people being condemned. Um, but then, as he says that, so he got involved with the anti-GamerGate community and kind of fought against the GamerGaters for years. But he says that once the Sarah Nyberg stuff happened, and he saw people on his side defending that he changed his view and was like, "Oh my God, what's going on here? Why can these people not critically analyze their own stuff, their own side?"
No, I mean it's just yeah. It's because it was their own side. I don't think it's more complicated than that. Yeah, it's definitely a tribal thing for sure after a certain point. But yeah, it's good that he noticed that.
Yeah, he said it was that incident, and then there was like one other big incident too. He said it was when he saw. Do you remember when somebody complained and went viral because they were mad that they changed the stars on Twitter into hearts because they said it was sexual harassment to have hearts on Twitter or something like that?
Um, that sounds like something someone said as a joke.
Well, apparently it was serious, and I do remember this happening vaguely at the time. And Peter says that he talked to this person in private and was like, "Hey, look, that's kind of a wild take. What's going on?" And he says the other person blew up at him, and that helped him realize too that maybe the people he was
Oh
working with
well,
weren't so reasonable.
yeah. I mean that just sounds like mental illness. There's a lot of that on Twitter. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's good that he looked inward to see if he was on the right side of history, as people like to say.
Has your conscious experience as a human been made worse to any degree because of the negative narrative about Gamergate?
My conscious experience. What do you mean?
Um, so your experience as a human being has it been made worse because of the negative narrative? Your life been made worse, I guess, to any
Oh,
extent.
has my life been made worse? No, I don't.
What's your favorite video
I don't
game?
have anything to add to that. um, oh, that's so based on mood. It really. I don't have a favorite. I just like games.
You can give a few if you want.
Give a few. Okay, well I might as well make them good then. Fallout 3 is still better than Fallout New Vegas.
Oh no!
I know. See, I know. I know. Yeah, people are. I feel like more people are coming around to that realization. Um, but I'm sticking to that. Super Metroid still, yeah, one of my all-time favorites. I don't even know how many times I played that game. Link to the Past also on Super Nintendo. Giving away my age again. These are my favorite games. Are like that. I think the last good Final Fantasy game is probably on the Super Nintendo. I guess it would have been like 3 in the US. Final Fantasy 6, I guess. I've never liked any of the 3 Final Fantasy games. I think they're shit. Um, What other fandoms can I offend as I go through my list? Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think what I've been playing. I probably have more hours in Left 4 Dead 2 than any game I've played in my life. But I don't know. But I wouldn't call it my favorite. That was like my solitaire, right? Something to do when you're bored. Um, yeah, that's it. I can't think of any more off the top of my head.
Well, I have to ask, why is 3 better than New Vegas?
It was more focused. I thought I was okay with an RPG that had an ending to it, which that people seem really upset by that, but kind of forget that the first two also had endings. Um, and I just liked the tone of it more. I think it was a little less jokey than New Vegas, and that appealed. Well, the humor was darker, I think, overall than New Vegas, and I think that appealed to me more.
I actually just started playing Final Fantasy VI recently, um, on Game Boy.
Oh, I didn't know they did a Game Boy.
Yeah, Game Boy Advance, they ported it.
Oh, Game Boy Advance. That makes sense. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if that was my favorite. I might have liked two better, but I really enjoyed like three on the Super Nintendo. Like giving what every other RPG on the Super Nintendo looked like. Like it looked and sounded just like so fucking amazing. It was unreal. But yeah, yeah. What's the next question?
Did you attend a GamerGate meetup?
Uh, yeah. I went to DC. Which that one I think was one of the ones that got shut down by a bomb threat. That's always fun. Um, and there was one in New York that I went to for a couple hours. I think. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the friendships you made during GamerGate?
Um, yeah. I made friends with some people. Lots more people didn't want to be my friend on the internet. Uh, you know. Yeah, not much to say. There's a handful of folks. Really not that many. Maybe like 5 or 6 that I stayed in touch with. Outside of that stuff, like in real life.
Do you have any thoughts on Vivian James or other GamerGate related art projects?
I thought that was a fun mascot. I still do. That was still like a great mascot. Yeah, it's like the embodiment of whatever. Like we're just here to play video games. Good job, whoever came up with that character. Yeah.
What was your favorite moment during GamerGate?
What was what?
Your favorite moment during GamerGate?
My favorite moment, probably. Uh, hmm. That's hard. I don't want to single anyone out. So I'll just say Moon.
It was what? Oh,
That
the
was that
moon rocks! Oh God!
that for me. That for me was just the like, how do people not see what's going on here? Moment
Uh,
that was peak for
do you want to lay
for
that
me.
out for anyone who's not familiar with that story?
No, I don't. I really don't. Someone said something about dropping. Someone who forgot gravity existed, or does not exist in space, and is localized to planets. Suggested, yeah, dropping rocks from the moon onto Earth. It's not how physics works.
Well, this
A serious person, someone who ran for government office. Yeah.
So were they trying to make the case
That's it.
that it
That's all
was?
we need. That's all we need to say. That's all we need to say.
Yeah. Well, though they did lose, thankfully, I
Yeah,
guess. But
yeah.
though, were they trying to say that, like, I guess if you had like a mass driver? Oh, so they didn't. They gave the dumb version, I guess. But like, if you had a mass driver and could launch things from the moon using the mass driver towards Earth, wouldn't that cause problems?
Sure. In the year 3000. when such technology can exist. I suppose if someone wants to invent a giant slingshot to shoot rocks at the Earth, they can do so. Yeah. Maybe if Elon Musk dedicated his entire fortune to it, and the fortunes of his 15 children, it still wouldn't happen because it's impossible. Like we don't have the technology. Maybe if the robots take over, right? If AI takes over, if we're all bowing to Chat GPT in 6 months, maybe then.
Can I make a
Maybe that's how
super?
it'll take over. It'll threaten us with that.
Can I make a
No, go ahead.
super duper
Yeah,
duper
yeah,
edgy
yeah.
joke?
Oh, sure.
Okay. I'm really tired of these Africans naming their kids weird names like XAEA-12.
So you do have to be a little smarter to understand that joke. Yeah, yeah. It's the what? Yeah, the white emerald mining Africans specifically. Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cute.
Yeah, yeah. That's what it is. Like, is that racist? Like, if you think it is, you're just not very well informed about
Yeah.
what's going on here. Yeah, yeah. Is the 12 in the name? Is that the number of the child? Yeah. Aye. That kid's changing his name when he grows up.
If you could
Yeah.
have changed one thing about GamerGate, what would it be?
I'm sorry if you broke up for a
If you
second.
could have changed one thing about GamerGate, what would it be?
Oh, I mean, it would have been nice if none of that stuff had happened, at all. or if once it became obvious that there was this like tabloidy drive behind, the one-sided presentation, if people stop doing it. But it's not how you get people to watch your, mid article video ads for 30 seconds.
When you say that none of it would have happened, you mean like that none of the GamerGate stuff would have happened, or none of the harassment, or none of the media coverage?
Oh, I guess I thought we were still into the media topic.
No,
Sorry.
sorry.
Yeah, I
We
mean
moved on
that's.
to reflections. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean that's still probably my reflection. The like none of this needed to happen, right? Whether whatever topic you want to put that under, media or harassment or otherwise, like none of this needed to happen. You know.
What would you personally have done differently during GamerGate?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I would have done much differently even now. Being 10 years older, I'd probably be funnier. Um, yeah, I don't really regret too much of what I personally did. Yeah, I never like targeted anyone or any of that kind of nonsense. So I just kind of said what I had to say, and that was it.
Let's say it's 10 years from now, and an online movement is looking to GamerGate for guidance for their movement. What advice do you have for them?
Oh, run far away. Yeah, don't do that again. Try talking to each other. Ignore the people that are sowing division, for their own benefit or for the benefit of whatever publication they work for.
What have you personally learned from GamerGate?
Uh, History repeats itself. History repeats itself, right? I went through this in the '90s when I was younger with the Mortal Kombat and Night Trap, and then the rock and roll and hip hop stuff, and in the '80s before that. So it's like every 10 or 15 years, there's this cycle.
Do you see parallels between GamerGate and the way society currently discusses issues?
I mean, maybe there's I don't know if they're purposeful, but there's certainly parallels around the monetization of uh, making people hate each other. I think there's been a pretty big increase in that. And again, that's a media thing. They've realized that, or decided, not realized, that this is the way they want to try to stay afloat. Like preaching to smaller and smaller audiences. Wasn't there just another round of layoffs at one of Kotaku this week?
So that's the
Didn't they just
rumor.
let more people go?
I was going to talk about that with Chris Ferguson. I was the rumor, but I haven't been able to confirm if that's true or not, so I didn't talk about
it. Got it. Then we don't have to talk about it.
Well, unless I haven't checked recently, because the story was literally just dropping right when we were going live, so I didn't want to. I wanted to wait for verification.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I mean, if it is true, even if it isn't true, right? There's been layoffs at all of these publications for the last 2 or 3 years now, right? Vice doesn't exist anymore. Really, I don't think Kotaku really exists anymore either. In the long term, that kind of approach just burns itself out, I guess is what I'm saying, right? People get sick of it and they move on. So I think maybe slightly dependent upon this upcoming election, we'll either see that go away or, get worse. We'll see.
What do you think of the decentralized and leaderless nature of GamerGate?
Yeah. I think describing it that way, right, is the same as the way people describe communism, where it sounds like this utopian society where everyone's treated equally. But much like how that was applied in the real world, how communism was applied in the real world, there tends to end up being leaders that people follow, and that tends to fragment and, again, kind of tribalize things. And I think that's exactly what happened. I don't think it was ever this leaderless thing. I think that's naive to believe that was ever the case.
So who were the leaders on both sides?
Oh, I mean, pick your internet personality that people grouped under, um, on both sides of the issue. There were people that were promoted to, tribal leaders. We've talked about some of them, on this call we did last time as well. I don't want to give these people any air, honestly, so I'm not too inclined to say names, but I think we both know who they are, or
Well,
can at least think of some.
You and I, arguably, people would say, fall into that category.
Well, I certainly hope not. No one should have listened to me just because I had a big mouth and didn't have any issues with poking fun at people. I definitely didn't want to be a leader of anything.
Would you want to do a GamerGate reunion, sort of a big meetup once every 10 years or something like that?
I don't need to relive the past, I guess. And I think I don't think so. No.
Have you ever thought about writing a book or other project relating to GamerGate?
No.
For you personally, what would GamerGate being successful look like?
It would, again, it would have been not really happening at all, right after these bloggers, kind of went after their communities. The right solution there is probably for them to be fired, really, because you can't insult your audience and expect to keep your job. No one can do that in any job. and it's ended up tanking a lot of these publications because it drove away so much of their audience. Again, the Kotakus and the Vices of the world, you know. Yeah, that's it.
Was GamerGate successful in your eyes?
I accidentally maybe. I think I think some of the course correction we're seeing from a lot of publications, and I really do think this is happening. I think a lot of that kind of attitude that was causing issues back then from these media publications is falling by the wayside. Um, I think. I'm sorry. Say the question again.
Was GamerGate successful in your eyes?
Question, right? Yeah, yeah. Not by any actions of its own. I really don't think so.
How do I categorize that answer? Yes, so yes,
I,
but not because of its
I
own
don't
actions, you
know. I
mean?
mean, yeah. It's like sort of accidentally, right? It's like if someone accidentally invented cold fusion. Compared to that, it's good. It's good that people brought attention to some of these. I mean, I don't even know what to call it. Just the way the tabloid way a lot of publications are going is not good for anyone, for themselves or for their audience. And so I think that the division that they themselves created, they were victims of that more than like anything any group of people on Twitter did.
Let's talk about that some more. What are some of these changes that you're seeing within the media?
Oh, well, I mean, just there's these publications are closing down. They're going away. Like Kotaku's dead, right? Some of these other places that were maybe more independent are now owned by another, different corporate owner that's kind of forcing them to be more, I'll say IGN like, right? You could say corporate in their content, which I'm not saying is necessarily an overall improvement, but I do think it's an overall improvement, but it's not really the way we want it to go. Like that kind of coverage it's still better than this, like this pixel art character is too sexy articles, because at least you're getting coverage of the actual game product, right? And they recognize it as a product. But I do think it's kind of a shame that the piece that I did agree with a lot of those, again, bloggers, not journalists, on is, it would be a shame if like the games as art or like the artistic effort that goes into the creation of games, like if talk about that falls by the wayside, that would kind of suck a little bit. But I think maybe talking about it in a way that isn't like pretentious and self-serving would probably be a better way to go than the way it went last time.
Closing questions. We're nearing the end. Nick,
Alrighty, what you got?
if you could do it all over again, would you?
Oh yeah, I'll never learn my lesson. Um, it's, yeah, I don't. I said it last time after I rambled on about colorful people. Um, yeah, I don't like bullies, right? Whether it's Joe Lieberman in court, or what was his name, the comic book guy, Frederick Wortham, in talking to the government about how comics are destroying society. I don't like that. So yeah, that hasn't really changed. Maybe I'd be slightly less of an asshole. Yeah.
What do you think of this interview project?
I think you should hire an editor to help you get through all this nonsense, because you don't need to print every word I'm saying, or what anyone else is saying. Yeah, focus I think would be good. I think it's a fun idea, documenting it. Um, but yeah, I feel like it wouldn't be to the benefit of the project to like put everyone in there unedited in some way.
Well, a little bit late for that. I've already basically done with the interview portion. You're like one of the last couple people, last few, I guess.
Oh, right, writing it all up, you mean? Well, you
Well,
should
no, in
still
terms
have an
of
editor
doing
look
it,
at it.
but I
Oh
might.
no
I
no
don't.
no! I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I just meant like once you put it in text form,
Yeah,
right?
no, it's the full interviews.
Yeah.
Basically I told everybody that since the beginning, so we're gonna run with it, stick with it.
Yeah, no, I mean that's fine, but you should still have an you should still have an editor look at it. The people that I have listened to, and my and me obviously, we and ah a lot, so
Well, I edit all
that's
that stuff
probably
out
getting edited
myself.
out.
I'm
Oh,
manually
okay.
going through them all. Yeah. So
Oof. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
oof. That's why I need to do a Kickstarter.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that would even if you had a budget for a Kickstarter, I still think because I know I've repeated myself a bunch.
That's
Um,
fine. I
just
don't mind.
some of the questions are similar. Yeah, you don't mind, but people might not want to read the same statement repeatedly. So that's more what I'm saying for the printed version. That's all.
Would you endorse the Kickstarter and make a video like a bunch of the other people are doing to promote it when it comes out, when it's ready?
I don't know that I would make a video. I'm not an on-camera personality.
Well, you can do
Uh,
voice only
for
unless
that,
you do a.
yeah, yeah. I don't even know. I have to see if my YouTube channel's even active anymore. I mean, I can. I'm happy to, inform people about it in some fashion, I guess. Is that that's what you're asking for, right? It's just get it in front of eyeballs so people
Well,
donate. So yeah, so I mean, I'm happy to put it in front of people. I just don't know that I'm a video. Yeah, I don't know that I'm a video person, even if it's just audio. I just don't do this very often anymore.
some people reading this might hold a negative view towards Gamergate. Do you have anything you want to say to them?
No, I don't care. It doesn't affect my life. They can have any opinion they want to. It's time to move on.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, um, I'm gonna go make some quesadillas for dinner.
Oh, okay.
That's about it. That's all that's on my mind right now. Is that? Yeah.
Well,
You should cut that part out of the interview too.
that's gonna be there. It's gonna be there. Well, hey, are you
Ah, God damn it.
you saw the Alt F4 conference? Do you have any thoughts?
Did I see the Alt F4
Well, you
conference?
saw that it's
Oh,
happening.
the article. That article you sent me. Lawrence Technological University. Yeah, I don't know who that is. Well, I mean, I think what I said to you privately is, the same I would say publicly. It's like, you had asked me if, I thought they should, let's say, get a range of opinions, right, versus kind of one specific viewpoint. Um, and yeah, what I said then is still true. It's just it wouldn't be in their benefit to do so, right? That doesn't allow uh, the like myopic um, viewpoint that they want out there, right?
Well, so there's actually been a
That's
development this morning.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
I've been talking with the
okay,
conference organizers. They
uh-huh.
the organizer might actually agree to do an interview with me, um,
Right,
and
but
talk
not at the
about it.
conference though,
Well,
right?
depending on how that conversation goes, they might invite me, I guess, right? But I have real
Oh
life planned
well,
that weekend. I have a real life plan that weekend, so I couldn't make it anyway, most likely, unless they change the dates.
yeah. I mean, yeah, and they're not going to do that. They've already announced it. Um, it's yeah. Yeah, I'll be curious to listen to that one. I'll say that to hear what the organizer has to say about it. But I wouldn't get your hopes up on even if you're not available.
Yeah,
Finding someone else.
it's not 100% confirmed that the interview is going to happen. I just reached out. I'm like, hey, look, do you want to come on and talk about it? And I know a lot of people have expressed concern. A lot of people in my community, a lot of people just in the public in general have expressed concern about this. Do you want to tell your side of the story and talk about it? And they weren't. They seemed open to the idea, but we're going to talk more in a couple of weeks or a few weeks. So yeah, we'll see how that goes, I guess.
Well, good luck. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, hey, there was one more thing I was going to bring up because I had your undivided attention, but I can't remember what it was. So it must not have been that important, I guess.
None of this video game internet drama is important anymore.
Well, you say that, but it's people. I think it is, okay? Because I think that, well, one, I think having a false historical narrative is really, really bad. Okay.
Well, yeah, sure, and yeah, I mean, sure, historical narrative. No, I get that piece. I just mean, like, I don't know that it's relevant to current day anymore because it's not just like video game stuff that's so divided in that way, right? It's like everything now, right? I think it's there's a larger issue at play, I think, than just this one thing. Not in a conspiracy way, not in like we're run by lizard people kind of way, just in a it's not good that everyone's so divided, I think.
Oh, I was going to ask. I remember what it was now. I was going to ask you. Mother's Day is coming up. You have any plans or?
Well, I'm not a mother, so my plans, and I don't have any kids, so I'll be sending my mom a gift back home, and I'll probably, I have no idea, clean my bathroom, maybe vacuum my office.
Well, I'll
weekends. I don't plan anything on the weekend.
I'll be well. The current plan, at least, is I'll be going on a picnic with my mom. So.
Oh, that's nice. My mom's 1,500 miles away, so I can't do that quite as easily as I'm sure she would like.
Ah.
Well, I would enjoy it too. It's just a little far.
You're in New York?
I'm in Austin now.
Oh.
Yeah, when all the game stuff was going on, I was in New York. I moved down here 2018.
I'm actually going to New York City.
It's fun, man. Where are you staying?
Well, I'm not gonna say that really, but because
no, I mean, did you get an Airbnb or did you get a hotel? Oh, I didn't realize that.
Oh, hotel.
Okay. Yeah, you don't need to tell me the W by Union Square, room 117. Yeah, I arrive at 8:30 a.m. Yeah, I'll meet you at the Starbucks. No, it's yeah. I was more like I meant more like really what area of town are you staying in?
Oh, yeah. I don't really
because I could
either. But
jeez.
I'm gonna visit the UN.
You know, there's like 10 million people there.
I'm gonna visit the UN.
Well, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
I never did that when I lived there. It was I walked past it, like the plaza, but I never went inside. I regret it. So yeah, you gotta tell me how it is. It's very cool looking.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that, and I'm gonna be going to. Well, we started this interview by talking about how Kabrutus went after EE Zhang, and the Gumbo.
Last time, yeah.
Well, I'm actually probably gonna be visiting Gumbo maybe too. So.
Oh, you should.
Yeah, I interviewed her and she invited me to come hang out with her. So we've been talking. So.
Yeah, you should totally go. There's a whole bunch of people there you get to meet. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun. You went to the Gumbo thing once, right?
You know what? I've never actually been there. I just know a bunch of people that are there. They were in that's in a part of town that where I lived. It was just a pain in the butt to get to, so I never did. But yeah, I know a bunch of the folks involved in the project.
Well, I should probably say,
or I've at least met them.
I should probably say because like people are like, wait a second, why are you flying to New York if you got a Kickstarter you're planning? Why don't you use that money towards your project, Tachyon? I understand the concern. I'm not paying for this trip for the most part. It's a Christmas gift. My parents wanted they wanted to take my brother and I somewhere, and they're like, well, where do you want to go? And I'm like, well, New York, I guess sounds fun. And then I was, I was
Yeah,
talking with people. I know someone in New York, and I've never been. I want to see the UN building. So it's a gift trip. I am still poor. It's
yeah.
true. Or well, I'm not really poor. I'm like middle class, I guess. But
Well, it's not that expensive of a trip either. I guess depending on where you're flying from, which I
St.
think people
Louis.
also maybe don't realize. Yeah, I mean, like that's not a huge expense. Although I don't know what I should look at airline prices. Maybe I'm totally wrong now. But yeah, because like there was even like I used to stay in like the dirtiest, grimiest Airbnbs in New York just to get there. I'm like, because I could take the Bolt bus. It was called. It was like $35 to New York, like to and from New York, and I'd find like a $30 Airbnb to stay in. You can do it super cheap. Um, Not that you should do it that way if it's a gift, but yeah, you should go check out Gumbo. Meet some of the folks there. Yeah,
Cool. Well, hey, anything else?
all right, I'm done. I got no. I got.
Oh, have you seen? I've been
Let's.
watching Invincible. Have you seen that show?
I have. I have seen Invincible. I've been enjoying that. Yeah, I never read the comics, so it's all very new to me. I don't know how accurate or inaccurate it is, but I've been enjoying it overall. Outside of the relationship drama, I think I don't care about that much,
Oh,
but the rest of the story is fun.
have you seen season 2 yet?
I did. Yeah, I think I binge watched it actually.
I'm doing that now. I'm doing
I
that
don't
after I
really
get off.
do anymore.
After I get off with you.
Oh yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I feel like they've hit a nice pace again outside of the relationship stuff that I don't care about, the teenage relationship stuff that I don't care about, the adult relationship stuff in season 2. I don't want to give away, but I thought they handled it much better.
Yeah, I finished season 2 yesterday, but I need to watch the
Oh,
special
you
sequel.
just
I've only
finished
seen
it.
part of. I'm still like a third of the way through the Adam Eve special. So
Oh yeah, I think I enjoyed that a little bit less, but I have to finish it as well. Maybe it ends up in a good place. Zero, I didn't watch the whole thing yet either.
well, spoilers for the audience. Are you okay talking about season 2 real quick?
Sure.
Okay, so I actually
Yeah.
really like how the show is. It's like a show for adults. Like obviously it's like a super dark, gritty ass fucking show. Everyone knows that's the first episode, um, but really like they're handling like the adult relationships, as you say, like they're handling those really well. Like, these are complex characters who are like really they have very different personalities and motivations, and they're able to flesh that out like pretty well, I think, for the most part. And
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's only and even the relationship, like the father-son relationship in it, right? I think they've handled that well. But it's like the teenage romance relationship part of it, right? Like the college stuff. I just
that's a
don't.
little, yeah.
I just it's a little too, yeah, like 90210, like that kind of teen show, which does it's to me it doesn't match the tone of the rest of the show, which like he said is like this like much more adult drama that just kind of happens to have superheroes in it. More like The Boys, right? Not quite as dark and gritty as that, but feels a little bit more adult.
Yeah, though I've not read the comics either. I think in the comics though, like that's part of like Mark's arc, right? Because he's still trying to find himself. He's still trying to balance this life between him being a superhero and him wanting to have like a normal life at the same time. And he's like running into the issue where he can't do that. And like that's a common thing in superhero shows and movies. That's a pretty like Buffy the Vampire Slayer had a similar arc. I think Smallville had a similar arc. Like, so like a lot of these shows, like it's
Yeah,
not unique, but I think it is like it's probably an important part of the character development because he is a kid still, right? Well, he's like 18 or 19, but he's still trying to find his way.
yeah. I don't know that I enjoy watching that though. I think that is just not as much as the rest of the show. And that like it's not even that it's bad, right? It's just it's not what I'm interested in watching. Something about these teenage relationships, the relationships between like Well, I feel like I need to be even more specific because it's just a relationship between really Invincible and his girlfriend. Like I just don't care
Amber?
about it. They need to write her out of the show. Amber, thank you. Yeah, it just doesn't. It's not adding anything to the show. But I guess the teenage relationship between the superheroes, right? The girl that turns into the
Oh,
big
Monster
troll
Girl
character,
and
Monster
Robot.
Girl. Yeah, Robot Man. Like that's some like that. I guess that's technically a teenage relationship, but like that's handled much better. It's more interesting.
Yeah, it is. And
So I should
actually,
say I just don't care about the college stuff. Really, is what I should say, not the relationship stuff.
well, at the end of season 2, you saw he dropped out of college and broke up with Amber, right? So major
Right? Yeah.
spoilers.
Well, she'll be back. It's just, that's what they do. You know. That's what teenagers do.
So have you seen Scott Pilgrim Takes Off?
I saw the first episode, and that was it. I haven't watched the rest of it yet. I like the animation a lot. They did a good job on it.
I really
I
like
already
it.
know.
I think it's
I already
superior
know what
over the
it's
film.
about. Yeah. It's funny. Everything about the film I should have hated, and I only watched it because I really liked the director. Because like I don't really like Michael Cera and a bunch of people that were in it. But yeah, I really enjoyed the movie. But I never read the comic either, you know, so I don't know if it's accurate or not. I know the show, right? Well, I should say the animation on Netflix is it's very different, right? It's from Ramona's point of view. Is that right?
To a large extent, yes.
Because
It's not just
I haven't
Ramona. It's
watched it. Yeah.
more it's Ramona and all of the side characters too. So like Scott
Oh,
Pilgrim's
gotcha.
story, I'm not going to spoil anything, but Scott Pilgrim's story, um, that's obviously the film and the books cover that, the comics. But this is more like all the side characters and their stories. But also Scott too to
Huh.
some extent. He's, you know, but I think they do a
Yeah,
really
and
good job in fleshing out the side characters a lot.
I'll finish watching it one of these days. I think I just got distracted with another show that I enjoyed more, so
Let
I stopped
me
watching it.
let me know what you think if you ever watch it all the way through. Let me know what you think of the message of the film, basically, like how they decide the direction. Because it seems like, so Brian Lee O'Malley, the creator, he, I
Okay.
think he's become a far more competent. Um, Again, I've not read the books, but it seems like he's become like a lot more competent of a storyteller. Like I guess he's 20 years older, so it makes sense. But but if you compare like the quality of this like the quality and overall themes of the story of his first work compared to this, I think that it's like leaps and bounds ahead. Like he's like grown a lot in his talents and in the way he thinks about things too.
Yeah, I will have to finish watching it for sure. I think I only watched up to the first episode is really just the beginning of the comic, right?
Yeah,
Up
basically.
to yeah, right. So yeah, I haven't really had a chance to see any of this other stuff. So
Or at least it's
um,
basically the beginning of the movie. Haven't read the comics, so I don't know exactly.
yeah, I mean I'm not. I guess I'm not one of those people who's worried if it's like word for word accurate to the source material. But yeah, I enjoyed the movie. The world was kind of fun. Uh, yeah, I'll have to finish watching it.
Cool. All right. Well, hey, I guess I'll let you go, man. Have a good night. Enjoy your
Cool, man. I'm gonna go make my
empanadas, was it, or
quesadillas.
enchiladas?
Quesadillas.
Quesadilla. Oh, I'm way off.
Quesadillas. It's all
Hey,
good. Maybe I'll
same
get
country.
fancy and put chicken in them. Yes, true, true. All right, man. I'll talk to you.